All right, everybody, we'll go ahead and kick off tonight's work session. We've got the Main Streets Board as well as the Chamber of Commerce with us here tonight. So I just want to thank everybody for coming down this evening and participating in the discussion we're about to have. We'll just go ahead and kick things off really quick here. Looks like we've got some follow-up items from the January 21st meeting. And Kelly Houghteling has a presentation on investigation of Visit Wellington domain.
Sure.
If you want to kick us off.
Yeah, so more of a verbal update. So at the last meeting that we had, we talked about maybe some type of joint website like Enjoy Wellington or visitwellington.com or something like that. And in doing some additional investigation, there's pros and cons certainly of having our own page, I think in the future. But we have been working with Slate Communications through our website mini grant, and they let us know that the state of Colorado hosts pages for communities. So through Visit Colorado, it's one of the most popular websites for people outside of Colorado and even locally in the state. So we could have our own page like Visit Wellington within that page. I think there's a variety of advantages of that, of just the extensive reach. So people are already going to Colorado. If they're looking at Fort Collins, we would be one of those suggested pages right next to it. We could have event information on there, and so we can send them regular updates of upcoming events, dining options, hotel option, a variety of those things. So that might be a good introductory step. Not to say that we wouldn't get a joint website in the future. There's just a lot of considerations that goes into that of like, who's going to host it? Who's going to maintain it? I don't know if we're ready to do that step quite yet. So if we wanted to start with that, I can get us signed up on there and then just start uploading information, like top things to do in Wellington, dining options in Wellington. So I think that might be kind of a good first step, but I would love to hear from the group. If we want to pursue a dedicated page, there would just be a lot more resources that we need to look into about how do we do that. I know I looked into Estes Park, for example. They have a dedicated sales tax that goes to marketing with their Visit Estes Park page, and they have a team of 5 that maintain their website. So perspective wise, that is a lot of resources. I know it's a larger community and a tourist town. But I'm not sure if we're quite ready for that. And maybe we take, as they say, the low hanging fruit and do that Visit Wellington page on the state's page. Yes.
Is there a cost associated with it on the state?
No, there's not a cost, but there could be if a business wanted to individually sponsor something of like, we want our own blog page on that. There would be like, sub pages would be a sponsored cost.
But for the town, like for our group collectively.
Yeah, we can upload. Yep.
Any other questions or comments?
When you said we can upload, does that mean that it's a quick turnaround, like you can just manage it yourself, or is it like a whole process and takes a while, do you know?
Well, there is a single point of contact, it looks like, so it has to be a town official. I don't know all the other details about maybe the chamber do it, but they certainly need a direct point of contact. I don't know the turnaround, but I can certainly ask them about how long that takes. But some of the basic information may not change, of like recreational opportunities near us or like town parks. So some of that standard information might be easier.
And yeah, that part sounds great. I was just thinking for events and like last minute things, if we have like, if we're nimble enough to be able to add things and that kind of stuff. So
Might be beneficial.
If that's a possibility.
At least it's like a jumping off.
Yeah, just a starting point. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
Experiment a little. If this is really hard to maintain, we might realize, well, this takes a little bit more resources than we're able to have at the moment. But at least some type of the start of like the basic information that we know is not maybe going to change a whole lot time to time, and then figuring out those other opportunities.
Now, who's gonna be managing it from our side? That's gonna be you or what?
Yep, or another person, so but someone from the town side. But I do think that initial getting it going will be a little bit of a lift, but a lot of that will probably be pretty similar. And I know Caitlin will give an update later on in the meeting about the Shop Local campaign. But I know that Slate Communications is going to do some of the, like more dedicated pages. And so maybe we can talk more about that throughout the meeting or other updates too.
So I have a question really quick related to that. I know that, down in an area that I have a home in Florida, there is a Citrus County events page. So it's like a county-wide page. And then they break it up into there's like 4 littler towns in that area.
Mhm.
And it's all in Visit Citrus County. Have we talked with Larimer County about anything? I know they probably have a lot more financial resources, but and partnering with possibly Timnath and other areas like that to have one of those joint like pages where you could go and find out what's going on in one area or another area. And they just seem like they have more
Yeah.
staff and probably some additional financial funds that might be possible to help with something like that.
Sure, so what I've looked in is the state of Colorado that hosts all the community pages, so it's not a similar model, but through the state. If that's something the group wants me to explore to see if Larimer County is willing to host, I think people might just be bouncing back in different areas, but certainly whatever the wishes of this group are, happy to explore that or talk to the county or others, so.
What about, when you're on the state
Mhm.
side, is it searchable just under a general Google search and would it?
Yes.
If you type up Wellington, would one of the links come up to show the state visit Wellington?
Sure, when you go to like, right, website, I guess, visit. So it's just called colorado.com. And then when you scroll down, there's a view all cities. You can't see it over here, but if you just type in colorado.com, visit Colorado, view all cities, all cities are broken out on there. So we're one of the breakout ones. Yep, and so if you go to the page right now, there's nothing. It just says Wellington is just a town north of Fort Collins, I think it says. So there's certainly effort. No matter what, I do think it would be a great practice just to get that up and going. And we could certainly explore other options like Trustee Teeth saying, and others, and maybe even a joint page if that's something we want to pursue. But I think as a great first step, this might be an opportunity.
That's a great site. It's beautiful.
Do you know, Kelly, if we had our page there, would we have any access to their like website analytics to see if people are searching us or
That's a great question.
like, do they provide that? whenever-
Yeah, I'll have to find that out, yeah.
Good question. To see, like, if there's a ton of people searching to help quantify if it's worth it for us to spend a cost to create our own thing.
Yeah, sure.
People are in for dining.
T-bars on the, nice. I think this is a good place to start and, we have a little control over this where if we are going to work with Larimer County and try to work with Timnath and the other municipalities, it's gonna take a lot more coordination. And I didn't feel like this group was wanting to wait.
No.
We need to get something going now. We will have this information if it comes to the point where this group wants us to explore those other opportunities potentially through Larimer County. I don't remember seeing like a visit Larimer County, but maybe there's something there I've not done the research on that, but it's certainly something we can look at. But I think getting this rolling right away, so we can at least start building something out.
Awesome. Any other questions or comments? Okay, well, appreciate the update on that, Kelly. We will move right along. We've got a chamber survey update from Ms. Bennis.
We have decided that in order to, secure maximum information, maximum response to the survey, rather than emailing it out as we normally would, we're going to be hand delivering the surveys to every member of the chamber. Handing them the piece of paper with a return envelope. So I brought you a copy of the final survey, the information that they're going to be getting in paper, with a cover letter, and tailored to their specific membership level to make sure that they have all of the information they need to make some informed decisions or provide some informed answers on the survey. But we're pretty sure we're at a solid point on the questions we need to have answered. And thank you to Patty for recommending that we ask about preferred modes of communication, because clearly, if we send out an email, it's anybody's guess to how many responses we're going to get with 175 members, so. So yeah, this is going to be an interesting exercise, but hand delivering them in paper for people to spend some time with, to write out answers and drop them in the mail slot, so we can hand tabulate them. So, but I think we're going to have a much, much higher response by going this route, so. Look for yours soon. It'll be on your desk or in your mailbox or under your door in the next week or so, so we can get this out the door. So we're good to go.
Awesome, appreciate it, Carol. Any questions as far as that goes, as far as the survey?
Do you have a timeline that you expect to get things returned by and things like that?
Well, we're going to ask that they return it by the end of May.
Okay.
You know, our goal is to get as many as possible by the end of May and then send out maybe some texts to remind people, hey, if you haven't done it, we can get you another one if you can't find it, et cetera, et cetera. But we're hoping by the end of May, we can, because, when people receive things like this, they either respond right away or they lose it, or they forget, and they just need to be reminded. So I think we can get a pretty decent first pass response by the end of the month. We can draw that.
We talked about putting like the QR code on that and or on the website so they have the ability to fill it out electronically if they choose, or would that be too difficult for you guys?
We have, and I can count on no fingers how many times a member has used the QR code. Seriously, it's just like, we absolutely can as backup.
If there was like
Yeah, and we typically do, on everything, but for some reason,
hand delivery.
nobody likes that, so, we don't know why. Maybe we'll be able to find out why through this process. I know, maybe they'll tell us why and their preferred modes, but we have a lot of important questions about, what's keeping you up at night and operating your business, and what kinds of things would help you, and what do you wish we had in Wellington that we don't have now, and a lot of open-ended questions for people to think about the things that they, decide, the on this stuff. So, but yeah, just trying to generate some decent data, that we can use to inform some decisions.
Is there a chance to get that survey to businesses who are not members of Main Streets or the Chamber?
Yes, we actually have a version of the survey for non-members.
Oh,
So we've stripped out all of the things that are specific to membership, and our board chair, Holly Thompson, has actually since January, she's been meeting with a lot of businesses who are non-members, and she's been putting the questions in front of them. So she has some preliminary answers there as well. So yeah, we'll have that second version as well. So, but we're thinking that getting it into the hands of all the chamber members at about 175 businesses is a good first pass. And we think we know who's not a member as a business in Wellington. And as a part of our strategic planning process, we were actually able to size our market. So we know exactly how many businesses are registered with the state of Colorado in Wellington. So nice. Yeah, so we know the different levels we have to shoot for.
Good deal.
What does that outreach look like for you, for the non-chamber member businesses? Are those still hand delivered or?
We think they are. We think they are. And we have some conversations to have with our membership committee and our ambassadors to take a look at the list of non-members to say, hey, does it know on the list? First of all, those are going to be the easiest ones to list. But yeah, I think we do. We might need some extra hands for that one, which I appreciate in this game. So yeah, it's on its way.
Any other questions on that? Awesome. Well, appreciate the update, Carol. Hand delivery, that's quite the lift there. So I wish you luck in that endeavor.
We're not Denver, so. Yeah, we're not Denver. And for that, I'm grateful. So, yeah.
Good deal. All right, next up, we've got a community calendar alignment. That's also Ms. Bennis.
So I have a handout for everyone. We have been working on adapting the calendar app that we have on the back end of our website to be utilized as a community calendar. Since January, I've been picking up everything I can find, everything I can get my hands on, nonprofit fundraisers, other special events. Mingle on Main is on the calendar through the end of December. So all the known things, I've reached out to a couple of organizations who host annual events to say, hey, let's get this on the calendar so you're not competing for the date that you've already settled on. So essentially, we're looking at sharing that app with the town, with Wellington Industry. It'll originate from the chamber's website. We'll have an event submission process to vet things that people want to contribute to the community calendar. And it's pretty simple. If you follow the form and you answer everything that's mandatory, it should be no problem. You know, all the way down to how are you registering people? We can get people to your registration sites and where to buy tickets, et cetera, so they land where they can actually make a purchase. So it's actually a pretty simple path to make that happen. So we're looking at embedding that calendar. The name has already been changed. It says community event calendar instead of chamber event calendar. So it's easy to do. The only thing I haven't determined yet is if we need to secure a generic URL to drive people to the community calendar. So it's Wellington Community Calendar or things to do in Wellington as a landing page that automatically puts you on the right page where you are. So it's a pretty simple process and I think we're good to go. We've already captured a lot of the events that we know about. And I'm guessing that there aren't a lot of events that aren't on there right now or aren't in the queue to be on the calendar. So it should be pretty simple.
Awesome. Any questions or comments as far as the calendar?
So you mentioned, so that would be like the ministry website and the town website could embed that same calendar, so it'd just be in your image.
Yeah, or a mirror image or hey, or just like a link or something, something graphic that people can click on to go through. You know, I forgot to add one of the most important promotional things for events. On the back page, there is a really rough mock-up of a full-page ad in North 40 News. And we're calling it Wellington Community News. And I can't bring this, renegotiated our contract with North 40. So essentially, it's an opportunity also to capture some of the events that are on the calendar. The blue box in the upper right-hand corner is a linked calendar. So upcoming events for the month of June, every title in there is specifically linked to the website where they originate. So when the North 40 News comes out on the first Friday of the month, you'll be able to go to their website and look at the page and click on everything that's under the calendar. And then we would pull some specific, items of interest, stories of interest for, for that specific issue. And obviously we don't have a lot of space for copy in these little blocks. So what we'll be doing is linking it to the website where they originate. So if it's coming from Main Street or the town, you'll be able to read more and it'll take you directly to the page. So you can read more about it and get everything you need to know. So, I mean, it's pretty simple. What's really cool about this approach is not that you can just link to it and read it on the North 40 News website. As we publish this single page that focuses on Wellington, we can download this as a JPEG and share it on all the social media platforms and provide a link to say, hey, link to events here. and take people over to the North 40 page to do that. So we can utilize it in a variety of ways. And, you know, really just to shine a bigger light on things that are happening every month in town, because there's a lot going on. And, yeah, so, sorry about that.
Dumb question, you'll be working with Kelly on this, coordinating it with her website too?
Yes,
Right.
anything that the town originates is going to be in the calendar, and it'll link back to the town's
Right.
website. Or it'll link back to Main Street, or it'll link back to the Mingle Unnamed Facebook page, or, you know, it'll link back to the Zion Church, or wherever it originates. So that would be Community Services Center, but wherever it originates, it'll take you back to that website, your list. Yeah, and because it's once a month and we know all of the dates through the end of the year. I have 6 of them in the queue already, you know, ready to go polish up June, get that out and get the next ones. It's not a lot of heavy lifting. It's just making sure that we have all this stuff in the calendar and we know, where to go, where to send people from them.
I have 2 questions. Have you, I don't know, linked or whatever with Kiwanis, because is it the fishing derby in June?
Like rodeo and fishing.
Same day in June, like 7th or whatever. So just another group, there's so many groups, so just while we're all in this room, making sure that we have the
Yes.
connections, because they have some great events coming up this summer, so maybe.
Exactly. I probably have your flyers in my window, but I probably don't have you on the calendar yet. But yeah, I just need somebody to send it so it's in the queue, and we will have the mechanism for you to go in, fill out the information. So what you fill out will auto-populate our calendar, and then we'll be able to assemble.
Taking it on, but I think there's a piece of accountability for all of our organizations that as long as we know about it, we can all be them and the thing.
Exactly.
It shouldn't be your job to go find them.
Exactly.
Like,
I agree.
Is this already submitted
No,
to,
no.
okay,
This is, I felt strongly about providing you with
no, so much.
my best draft of what it could be. So we can get the June issue.
I just know that for sure, we get tons of great pictures of downtown Wellington during the 4th of July to like put in
And
a
those-
picture of
yeah,
us. So
those
I
are-
just want to make sure it wasn't
yeah.
already submitted because we
No,
haven't.
not at all, no, and I'm not even convinced that those are really your 5 highlighted stories of the first issue. It was just like, I needed to show you something because it's easily explained.
So I think we talked about it, this is kind of a mid-month check-in between the town, Main Street and Chamber on what wants to go into an issue, so we can do like a mid-month check-in and have time for the submission by the beginning of the following month. So that's
Right. Right, so as long as we have it assembled by the Monday before it publishes, we should be fine. Now, the rest of the story is, we kind of strong-armed them into accepting maximum press release coverage. So that means, if you have a press release to go out, you can submit it through us and we can almost guarantee you'll get it published in an upcoming issue. So, make sure that we see those as well. And we'll submit it, and we can done.
So is everybody happy with the calendar? This is something that was a direction of this group back in January, so we did, that's why it's not formalized yet. But we wanted to bring this before you all to make sure we were meeting your expectations on that. We good with it? What comes up?
Yeah, I think this is great. This will certainly help with community planning and making sure that events aren't piled on top of each other and that sort of thing. So I think this will be wonderful. So really appreciate the work on that.
I'm already sending you an email. About Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
Events, movies in the park, kids to park day,
What I think
park
another
and
thing
plays.
Caitlin and I have learned from events the last couple of years is that we've trained the people of this town to do certain things. And you have to train them to do what you want them to do. So if we are all on United Front, like Kiwanis, all of our different groups, Main Street, Chamber, the town, we're all sharing the same thing. Well, I don't know how often I hear people be like St. Patty's Day, well, I didn't know that was going on. I'm like, that's, I don't know how you didn't see it in a flyer or on, but people don't.
Yeah.
But if we can train them that there's one place to go, that they can find it,
Yeah.
we'll all be better off.
Yeah,
To hear about it.
absolutely.
Awesome. Any other
We
comments
need
on
a
that?
billboard.
Cool, all right, moving right along. The next item here, we have 2026 event planning. Patty, I didn't, I'll be marked on that.
Okay, no problem. So I figured there was, in my notes, it said that maybe we have a group that gets together in October of 2025 and talks about those activities for 2026. Maybe it's a committee group from some of you, not all of you, to talk about what events sound good to partner on for 2026 and things like that, get a good schedule together. So as we get through the summer, I'll start reaching out and seeing who wants to participate, and we'll go from there.
I love it.
And then we'll put names in a hat and pull out 10, and that's who's on the committee. Or something like that.
That is a lot.
Yeah, there's, I know, it's like, everybody wants to participate, because that's the fun stuff, you know, those are the fun things, so we'll figure it out, but we'll collect names and go from there.
Awesome, sounds good. Cool, next item we've got here is a couple of presentations of new activities and projects. First one is workforce development and job board page, and that's also Ms. Bennis, you're popular this evening.
I'm telling you.
We heard loud and clear that this was an area that everybody wanted work done, and having more opportunities for those in Wellington or the businesses in Wellington to have access to workforce development. So Carol's done a good job working on this hard, so go ahead.
Well, there are a number of opportunities, and I will say it's a lot of low hanging fruit. So, not a lot of, manpower to make this go. The chamber has an asset that it's never used. It's never been activated. It's never been attached to the website. No one has ever used it. And essentially, it's a job board for employers who are seeking to fill posts, different opportunities. And so, again, we tried to figure out, okay, what's the simplest way to make this go without having to dedicate manpower, a lot of manpower to it. And the way I've been able to set this up is to essentially only require vetting for a post. We're looking to provide job posts to any employer in Wellington at no cost. Post a job you want to fill. You want to open it up to the community, so let's talk Wellington and have a sabbatical and hey, you know, the job my high school senior, could apply for. You know, it's been really spotty and not uniform. And what's really kind of exciting about this is like 2 weeks before the high school's student job fair, I got the request to say, hey, would you like to participate? And I said, sure, we can promote it for you. We can get it out there. Oh, no, I mean, would you be there and have jobs for kids? I'm like, this is 2 weeks before your events. 75 members to talk to, and they don't respond to email, consistently. And so, yeah, that's a big no. However, if we get this in front of all of the community, for our members, it's more eyeballs on the things that they would have posted if it was available to them. And now that it is, it's an opportunity to uncover every possible type of job. The only requirement is that you must meet the posting requirements of the state of Colorado. And I know what they are. So if something's submitted and it's incomplete, it'll come right back to you. It won't be posted in a timely manner. But if you're meeting all those requirements and it looks good, it's out there, it's going to be posted. So we are going to be presenting it to the community as Wellington Works. The dedicated URL is wellingtonworks.org. And what that does is it takes you to a one-page website, which automatically will take you as soon as this job board is starting to become populated. it'll take you to the job board for you to scroll through the opportunities. That'll be time limited, probably with a 30-day expiration. I don't know if it's too short at this point or not. But a really nice opportunity to aggregate all of the jobs that people are trying to fill. We've got a lot of fast food in town, and I've never seen a job posted for any of the fast food. I know they have jobs. So it's just a nice opportunity to aggregate everything, get it in front of people, encourage some of our larger employers to post some of their high-paying jobs. There are a lot of very high-paying jobs in Wellington. There's what do you say, the advanced tank. Schlumberger. I mean, there are a lot of high-paying jobs. And, frankly, Ridley's has some great jobs that people don't know about. So it's an opportunity to make people aware. I've already talked to HR at Otterbox. They have a lot of remote jobs, high-paying jobs with benefits. I've talked to 3 employment agencies in Fort Collins who are thrilled to be able to submit something and not have to pay for it. But it's a real opportunity to get a lot of opportunity in front of residents and for businesses to, have a better shot at filling jobs that go unfilled. So that's just one piece of it. The other piece of this job board is to offer volunteer opportunities in Wellington. And we all know there are a lot of them, and people just don't know how to find them. I've been keeping this tally on a Post-it note next to my phone since about Thanksgiving, about the number of people who come in to say, hey, do you know any volunteer opportunities? Why, yes, I do. And it's, I think it's a legit way of utilizing a job board and a nice opportunity, especially for our nonprofits. In our schools to find volunteers to do some of the things that we need to have volunteers do. And the community wants to volunteer, they just don't know where to go. So that is one opportunity. The other piece of it is tying together some of the workforce development partners in our region. I've been talking to workforce development for Larimer County. They have a couple of student-focused initiatives. They're very interested in bringing some training to the library. They're very interested in bringing some training to the school if the school doesn't have anything available at this point in time. We're also looking to tap into the Better Business Bureau, the SBDC, the SBA out of the state of Colorado to host some workshops on why it's important, why you may want to become a woman certified business or a minority certified or a veteran certified business, what that opens you up to, the kinds of things you may not be aware of, but essentially trying to identify the pockets of aspiring entrepreneurs and giving them a little bit of encouragement through some training opportunities or some education, or sometimes it's just an article or a piece of literature from a partner agency. But to look at the aspiring entrepreneurs, to look at some of our home-based businesses that can be nurtured and possibly grown, to take a look at all of those combinations and how they interact. And we have established relationships with a lot of these organizations who provide a lot of training and information and what have you. So, and we're looking to kind of marshal this into one spot and make sure that we're tapping into it as much as possible. But I was personally pretty excited about the volunteer opportunities. And you'll see that we have a little tiny logo for simple, and you'll see on the dedicated web page, it's like a postage stamp. It's not that large, but it's something to give people some encouragement. So
Awesome, good deal. Any questions as far as that goes? I did just have one for you, Carol. You mentioned vetting. I was just curious as far as, some of these getting posted, obviously we want to avoid scams and these types of things. I was just curious what your thoughts were.
Well, I'm very hopeful the lion's share of the opportunities are gonna be coming from, chamber businesses.
Sure.
There will be its traffic from non-chamber businesses. And, I have been talking to the Better Business Bureau about some of the more recent, posting scams, especially on Facebook, where people say, hey, I got this great paying job, and they don't name the company, they don't provide you with a website, they don't provide you with a phone number that would match. I think, so there's kind of a really simple vetting process that can be done here. And if the submission isn't complete, if there's no company name, if there's no company phone number that tracks to a company, you don't get in. So it's a pretty simple process, really, if it's not real. That said, we know of a lot of family businesses who need seasonal help. I know that Lou Kinsley is always looking for football pay players to help him move bales of hay. And Lou's already said, well, I'm gonna be looking for some workers, and well, you're vetted, Lou, don't worry. So you're in. So I think it's just a matter of being, number one, by following the state's posting requirements is going to weed out a lot of people.
Okay.
But, not having, legitimate business names. If you don't have a business name, or, if it's a family business, you have a name. So, yeah, I think we're, moving down the right path. And, a couple of contacts at the Better Business Bureau said, hey, if you want us to look over your shoulder for the first few weeks, while you get your legs under the initiative, we can do that. But, yeah, it shouldn't be a lot of heavy lifting. I don't think it's gonna be that difficult to get legitimate opportunities in front of people.
Awesome. Good deal. What a great opportunity for the community. So yeah, that'd be good. Excellent. All right, we'll move right along then. Next thing that we've got on the agenda is a update on the Shop Local campaign, and that's Ms. Morris.
Thank you. I'm so excited to tell you guys about this. I don't know if it's the espresso I had 2 hours ago or the Shasta, but I'm so excited. So I think you guys all have a printout of the packet. There is a memo in the packet, just going over kind of the high level points of the campaign, really specific to the tasks that have been accomplished to date, kind of where we're at in the process and what is coming up. And then I included the graphics that we've settled on and the campaign slogan as well.
Caitlin, I'm sorry, I don't think the packet was printed out. It was just.
Oh, I apologize.
We provided agendas, and unless you printed it out.
I might have printed it just for myself, so
It
maybe I.
is in your packet.
Well, I'll just touch on the high level points of it. So, the Main Street program is able to do this campaign because of a mini grant that we've received from the Department of Local Affairs. Just being a Main Street program at the level that we are. And so, this grant timeline expires at the end of June. And so we're, really quickly trying to kind of finalize this campaign right now. So we've devoted 25,000 of our mini grant funds just for this. And as Kelly mentioned earlier, we did select Slate's Communications to lead the campaign. They're from out of Fort Collins, and they were also hired by the DOLA team through the state of Colorado to complete community videos for all of the Main Street communities across the state. So just felt like a great tie-in to have them work with us as well on this campaign, so we can kind of dovetail that community video with this Shop Local campaign and have really consistent messaging across the board. And so really, it's to highlight our businesses and the importance of shopping locally and to have really consistent, vibrant messaging around that. And so we've got a marketing plan, we've selected the slogan, we have some graphics created already. We've captured photos and video during the St. Patty's Day celebration and some of our Main Street businesses already We've completed the first draft of a storyboard for that community video. And then selected a business directory, kind of the style and structure of how we want that to look on our website. And so moving forward, we are going to be working on completing all of that videography and photography of all of our businesses and just some kind of general community shots. So Ryan from Slate will actually be coming this Friday to Mingle on Main, our big graduation celebration this month. We're hoping it's going to feel really vibrant and fun on Main Street. So he'll be out on Friday to do a little bit more of that. And then we are planning on hosting a marketing 101 session for our businesses and providing a media kit to them to just help, boost their own promotion of their business and what they have going on. And then they are working on templates for a postcard mailer, media ads, poll banners, and helping align us with advertising strategies that might work well for our community. And so that Visit Colorado website was one that they kind of highlighted for us that they, had learned that's one of the most heavily trafficked websites in the state of Colorado. And so, that was a recommendation from them too, that we get some content on there, something a little bit more than we're north of Fort Collins. We're 15 minutes north of Fort Collins. But I did want to share a little bit more about the why of why we felt like this was important to spend our mini grant funds on this. And just to kind of clear up any miscommunication or understanding kind of in relation to the Cleveland Avenue construction project. So it just so happens that this timing is perfect with that construction project coming on the horizon. But really it's about it's more of a long-term community investment. It's something that we want to create more of a permanent culture here around shopping locally and supporting, our economy. I think Wellington, being a bedroom community, has probably arguably always suffered from kind of that lack of connection from our residents here. More than half of our community is traveling outside of Wellington every day to work and probably shop, have lunch, play in other communities around us. And so, we really felt like the key to start shifting that mentality is to help, invite people to connect with the community. And so the campaign slogan is "Find your place in Wellington." And place is to be replaced with a number of words. Find your community, find your business, find your connection. I don't know, we've got probably find your home,
use it for whatever.
find your love, whatever it is. So it's really meant to be, an invitation to people to, invoke that curiosity and adventure of, how do I fit in this community? And so I did want to spend a minute just kind of around the psychological standpoint of this phrase. And by the way, I give the board just so much credit and kudos for coming up with this. This was not actually given to us from Slate. This came organically out of a conversation that we were having about the Walk of Fame, which Blair will talk about in a little bit. And she kind of said, come and find your sign on Main Street, like find your place on Main Street. And so that kind of started this whole idea of, I think at the heart of what we're trying to do is increase an overall sense of belonging in Wellington. That we want people to feel like they can live here. Hopefully they can work here, play here, be engaged in Wellington and really feel that strong sense of being included here. And so I had a conversation with ChatGPT, my therapist, but I tend to believe what it says about this phrase. It invites people to feel included, which is one of the most, fundamental human needs. And I think the basis of community. It implies that there's room for you if you want there to be. Again, it's an invitation, not a directive. It doesn't tell people how to fit in. It empowers them to choose and explore on their own. And I think that's something that Wellington people is kind of having that autonomy to choose on their own. And it kind of subconsciously asks, like, where do I fit in? Where do I want to fit in? Where can I put my energy to feel like I can increase my connection with the community? So, you know, I think it supports our efforts of inclusion, diversity, and accessibility. And it kind of promotes Wellington as a place with space for all kinds of people. And so really, at the end of the day, we see this more than just branding. We want it to be, you know, a mantra and something that we all can embrace and, you know, have consistent messaging across the board. But I think it's also kind of that psychological bridge, you know, between our residents and the community itself. So, you know, we're creating tools that can be deployed in many different ways and certainly shared across platforms and between entities. You know, we would invite everyone in this room to embrace this campaign and to use it as we move forward. You know, Main Street's kind of doing this initial push, but there's so much more that we can do with this together, I think, collectively. And so I thought, you know, for the conversation, I'm just curious now that we've sort of announced what this campaign is, like, how do you all see yourself fitting in this campaign? You know, does it resonate with you? Do you feel like you can kind of stand behind this as like a mantra for others? That's my spiel.
Is this something that you anticipate like lasting forever in perpetuity? Or are you seeing this as a campaign with a beginning and an end?
I do think that's the hope, is that it's something in perpetuity. Going back to kind of where I started, the reason I wanted to say it's not solely because of construction is because with these grant funds, the hope is that how you spend it will last for 10 years or longer, that what you're doing with it will resonate and last for, you know, a long period of time. And so I think, you know, we hope that it's something that we can all embrace and really carry forward and kind of become that Visit Wellington kind of campaign. So maybe using the word campaign is confusing. I feel like sometimes
No,
it implies like.
The reason I asked is because kind of as we're looking to align these three organizations, I, you know, was reading the chamber's mission statement, vision statement. Like, it's unfortunate that we didn't know about this when we were looking at our vision statement, because I think there's an opportunity to really use the same type of language. And not that they say completely opposite things, but it just would be more cohesive, I think, if all of the visions were similar or could support the campaign.
That's vision statements are fluid, right? Because that's something we can work towards aligning in the future.
Totally. If
Because
this
I
lasts
agree.
forever, yeah,
That's
then
our
like
hope.
next strategic plan, I mean, I don't believe this is like 4 years, 5 years, so, you know, who knows?
They came to us with like a bunch of different slogans and we were kind of, as a group, kind of well set on this like find your placing, and the whole purpose behind it is that the messaging can be the same, right? Like you can see in the graphics that they can change it, and Kiwanis could use it for something and the chamber can use it for something, the town itself, a specific business, like Taylor should use it for find your insurance agent, you know, and it like all comes back together. So the goal with that it would be that it is a long-term kind of permanent, our branding and our slogan for Wellington to give us some kind of identity. So I think that's a great idea.
I love it. I mean, and it aligns with welcoming community for all, like it aligns perfectly. I just, I don't know.
Yeah, and I think, sorry, trustee Peak, go ahead.
So I do have a question related to, similar to kind of what you guys are discussing now. But when you're looking at in perpetuity, are you looking at who maintains the website and what is the cost to host it? Because if you're looking at for extended period of time, that's going to be an ongoing cost. Is that being split between 3 entities? How is that going to work out when it comes to funding it?
So, right, oh, sorry.
What website?
I think, are you thinking about like the business directory that I
Correct.
mentioned? Yeah, so right now, that's just Main Street businesses and just the Main Street website. But I think the hope would be that we expand that to a directory that includes all of our businesses that could live on, you know, multiple websites or.
But like the whole community calendar, it'd be embedded in all of us. It would just become like kind of universal cohesive messaging.
Oh, so this only is for the Main Street businesses.
Right now, yeah, just with the bucket of money that we have, and because it's, you know, from the state, we are required to use it just in our district area. But that's just our, you know, this is just our launch and starting point. So, you know, really wanted to bring it to you all to kind of discuss things like that, of like, how can that look as we continue to build it out? And be inclusive of everyone and everything that's going on in the community. And so, you know, could that live on a Visit Colorado website or be kind of that mirror image similar to the job board and the calendar? I think those are some of the details we can flesh out moving forward.
Right. Go ahead.
Oh, the first time I heard this, I think it was like, as you guys were working through it and you were talking about the purpose of the Walk of Fame, and it came out, like, I seriously had chills of like, this is exactly like the sense of, this is economic development, this is inclusion, this is making people feel safe and loved. This is all of the above. The idea of finding your place and the sense of belonging is, you know, one of the most important things when it comes to just basic human needs. And I just have to commend you guys for coming up with this. Firstly, I know you guys had help from professional company to help you kind of come up with a slogan, but this was definitely the best one that you guys were going through, and it meant the most that you guys created it yourself. And it's so versatile too. So the Find Your Place is the one that spoke my heart, but I see the application to all the things. And I love it. And then once you own these items, right? You have the specific marketing campaign, photos, videos, things that are specific to Main Street businesses. But once you own this campaign and these images and those kind of things, those can be applied anywhere and everywhere. It's not just only marketing for only Main Street. Is like, you now own this as your property and you can utilize it however you see fit going forward and share it. And the idea of this entire campaign is to openly share everything so that everybody has the tools available to them to make them successful and to give them a starting point in all the, you know, images and those kind of things to get them at a level that's professional and welcoming with a similar theme and messaging. I think it's wonderful. I'm so happy you guys did this and it's been executed with us. So I cannot wait to see what else comes from this and how much you guys are sharing that. So thank you so much. Thank you all for your work on this. Sorry,
Oh,
Patty.
No, it's all good. No, and I love this and I love the branding. I think it's fantastic. But when you're talking about branding for a community, it's a community-wide effort. It's not just one organization stating that. So I wanted to make sure that everybody understood that if this ends up being like a community branding effort, that there will be outreach and, you know, town halls of sorts or something like that, surveys, something like that, that, you know, it's important that we involve our community as we go through this branding process. I do love what they've done and it makes so much sense and it feels good, but I do know we need to get feedback on that if we were to make this like a community-wide branding piece.
Yeah, so I have a question. Did Slate, flesh this out to, offer up what it would look like for an individual business to embrace this? And because you're talking about, you know, graphic design and messages, they're only tiny elements of branding. You know, how people feel, how people are treated, how, you know, the quality of goods and services. Those are all the things that create brand. And I'm just hopeful that they're giving you some ideas about how, you know, the auction house would implement something like this. What does it look like for them to be almost in an ambassador type of role for the town? Have you guys gotten to that?
We just started to kind of brush the surface, I would say, on that. So we've got some, you know, generic templates where photos and business information can be popped in there. I think with that marketing 101 effort and kind of that media kit, that'll be kind of the next step of that process, that we'll be able to give every business professional photos and videos, and their own set of these templates and tools that they can, you know, put into play for how they want to use them. But I'm hearing kind of that second layer.
Yeah,
of-
that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how is it that, you know, is there something special I get to offer them? Is there something special I should do? Is there, you know, am I wearing an ask me where to find your place in Wellington button or something? You know, what is the outward execution for, you know, the Pizza Palace? You know, like if you were to walk into Pizza Palace, you walk in the door, and maybe everybody just shouts, "You found us," you know, or something, you know, what is it? What are the elements that bring this to life with real businesses? Because messages and art and photos and video it's gonna be uniform, but you know, how do you adapt it to make it meaningful for, you know, that experience, each of those
I
businesses?
think that's a little bit beyond the scope of like the program we have, because we were limited in our funds.
Mhm.
We had the 25,000, so it's not, meant to. It's kind of like a base level, right? So it's meant to just be, it's just the marketing. We're providing the materials, we're providing the photo shoots and the professional quality photos and the video for the businesses. So they have kind of like a starting kit with the marketing 101 and the media that they can then take and use that as a way to market their business. And they didn't have to get their own professional photos taken, or they didn't have to make their own community video. And then we can kind of share it from there, but we don't, unfortunately, we don't have the funds or the budget to do something that large scale. So it's mostly just meant to be like the direct social media style marketing campaign that we can provide them with, so that they can then advertise their business and take it and run with it how they so choose.
Quick, I feel like I'm picking something up, and I think it's a great opportunity for collaboration right now, because I've attended of this similar topic of branding, of marketing, video and print, 3 different Women of Wellington sessions where they had guest speakers who spoke exactly to that, talking about 30-second videos and how to be memorable and make an impact. And then other the branding initiatives, and this has been over years of time, but I've been thinking of a few of those sessions that like resonated with me. And I left thinking like, this is something that really matters. Now I understand this more. And like, what would my brand be? Actually, we did that. We actually did our personal, like as a personality. I have sticky notes from it. They made us take pictures and put them online. But I think as like a great opportunity for collaboration when we're talking about working together is, here's a kit of like some actual essentials. Here's a marketing 101 class, you know, let's get everyone at a specific baseline. Chamber comes in with Empower You now, right? Instead of Women in Wellington necessarily, because men can come too. That was always the case, by the way, but, and like, you know, make this kit mean something for you. Like, how do you activate this? And I see so much potential of organizations working together. Knowing that, you know, a bunch of businesses now have these at their fingertips, now do what and like how to maximize it. I would see people attending Empower You, maybe you guys, you know, some of the workshops that you're talking about and doing can specifically be about marketing and branding and those kind of things. And then this is a great way to get everybody working together towards the same direction, now with what they would have on their own spent thousands of dollars to compile. Right? Because we can't look at every single business and be like, let's come up with a branding session for you. That takes resources and time and talent, right? But if we can give them what they need, give them opportunities to learn, and let's keep in mind, these are their businesses. So it is not the responsibility of these 2 organizations to make them activate and make them we can't make anybody brand, right? But if we give them the tools and capability of doing it, and they so choose to and take that initiative, they could make this investment, which actually is pretty small when it comes to how many businesses is impacting, and make it something amazing. So I think this is a great collaboration opportunity, maybe within the campaign itself, maybe some specific sessions targeted towards people and inviting everybody in the world to come too, because these are applicable to everyone. But I think I'm so excited right now, so probably can tell, but I think this is a great opportunity right now. Between the two, your sessions that you're talking about, these kits that they're making, I mean, you guys can go wild.
I'm curious from the business owners we have in the room, how it resonates for you, if you have any thoughts from that perspective. Not to put you on the spot.
As a business owner, I'm excited. As a chamber member, I'm conflicted. I would be more excited if we could open this up to the rest of our chamber members and not just the main street.
I think that's something you can always keep out.
The quicker we can adapt this and expand on that and open this up to the rest of our chamber members, I would be.
I think that would be, like, I agree with you. I think that would be super excellent. And with Slate, they're gonna have all of this. So if we can figure out, like, we are bound by the rules of JOLA. So like, we are only allowed to do so much with this money, but where we've started the footprint of it would be so easy to open it up, just like you said, and get the 170 other businesses, and they can take it and use it too, because we're already, like, the ball is already rolling, yeah.
No, I completely get it. I completely understand the why. I get all of it. I just know we are increasingly hearing, you know, I know I personally, I shouldn't say we, I have mouse in my pocket. I am increasingly hearing and getting comparisons of the chamber to Main Street. In that we seem to be focusing heavily on Main Street as of late. And so I just want to make sure, and this seems to be another heavily focused, obviously, because that is quite clearly the program, the funds are built for it. So I think it looks fantastic and that excites me too as a business owner. But I think the quicker we can expand on that and build on it and open this up to all people. But
We're not gatekeepers. Like, we would love for you guys to expand it and open it up to all of your businesses. Like, we want everyone to be on board with this. We want everyone who wants to have access to it, to have access to it. It's not like we're keeping it a secret by any means.
no, I understand.
Yeah.
I think it is what you make of it. I think the marketing is there, the tools are there. I kind of mentioned it while you were talking about it. I think it's a launching point. So all the tools are there. It's quite literally just what you make of it if people understand it. So I think it's awesome. Great job.
I mean, a lot of that same thing, I think something that we're experiencing with the chamber right now is how do you get people to do it, you know, and you mentioned like marketing. We have wonderful marketing conversations at our breakfast and, you know, there's 5 people there.
Right.
And it's like,
Same by.
you know, how do we get the businesses to actually use the tools? That's why we're hand delivering these surveys, is because it's like, it isn't working. So, you know, I love all the ideas as well. I think I'm someone who likes to adopt those things and be a part of the community. And so I think just the simplicity or the human touch of explaining it, right, versus a post. But that's hard to do. You know, you don't have the time to go to every business and give this pitch that you just gave tonight. And I think that will always be a challenge. How do you get businesses to use all of this hard work that we are doing? So I don't know. I mean, that's not great advice because there's no answer to that yet. But I think it's just what we're dealing with in the chamber right now is we're doing so much. Same 5 people showing up and growing. So
And those are for programs that are open to the community. Anybody can come.
I will say, as a previous chamber member, the statement that you had made about only marketing specific businesses, it is one of the reasons we are no longer a chamber member. So when we participated, it was definitely focused on certain businesses in town. And I think that might be one of your guys' focuses, is kind of to stem out from just a main center of businesses and start doing showcases of businesses outside of those areas, because there is so much. And not that we don't want to see what's going on Cleveland, but we have two other huge business centers in town and in the community now. And we have Main Streets that does nothing but focus on Main Streets. It would be great to see everything else that is going on in this community, because people don't feel like there's a lot going on, but there literally is a lot going on. There is.
27 businesses on Main Street, and there are 437 registered businesses with the state of Colorado
So,
in Wellington.
yeah, so spanning that out
So, yeah.
and touching other areas in town, it's why you guys have, I used to do all of the dinners for the chamber. So I did all the dessert auctions, everything. I volunteered constantly. But I would definitely say one of the biggest things in having that experience personally is that is one of the reasons you guys are losing some of those businesses, is because they don't feel connected. So I think that that is a main marketing thing, where you have Main Streets is doing their thing. Do it for the rest of the community. You
Yeah,
guys are a chamber. You get to do all of the businesses, not just the little bubble. I think that that is the coup de grace of everything is we have so much in this community that can be shown, demonstrated, offered. It's amazing.
I appreciate the comments there, trustee Teets. I mean, as far as this goes, as Ms. Peterson has pointed out, obviously this is a Department of Local Affairs funds. So, these guys, it seems like we're really hitting the ground running here with some pretty solid stuff as far as marketing materials and, some of these one-on-one sessions and that sort of thing. I think this will be very easy to expand out as the chamber goes, if you guys want to do that down the road. So I think this is a very good place to start on this as far as that goes. So really appreciate all the work there. Any final comments on this before we move on?
I know there's a lot of discussion of like all the businesses in town, and like, I know there was an event this weekend or this past weekend where a lot of those were showcased, and like, it's not to say that there are not a ton of amazing businesses, but I think that we need to remember too, and this is outside of Main Streets, that the Main Street businesses are coming up on a particularly difficult season for them, and the town would rally around any business park the way that they are Main Streets, if that were the case for them. And so right now, the focus may seem heavy on Main Streets, but it's because we have a challenge that we have to address. And so I just hope people understand that and don't go sliding.
Awesome. All right, cool. We will go ahead and move on. Appreciate the update on that, Ms. Morris. Next item we've got on the agenda is a Walk of Fame update, and that's also Ms. Morris as well as the Main Streets Board.
And actually, I will pass it over to Blair for the update.
I'm literally so excited about this. I want to shout from rooftops. So collectively, in the promo meeting, we came together with the chamber and the promo committee of Main Streets and the Main Street Board, and we came up with this idea. It got coined the Walk of Fame. So basically what it is a yard sign style sign for every single graduating senior in this class. They are done. They will be, unfortunately, they're not going to be printed till tomorrow, so I can't bring them to show you. I'll show you a picture of them in a second, but the goal was, we've been having a lot of conversations about how we can integrate the school with our program and our businesses and create this buy-in between all of the different communities and have our families and our students want to be more present in our town. And that's kind of where the whole like find your place came from. So we have the signs printed. We will place them along Cleveland Avenue starting tomorrow. If anybody wants to help drive some yard signs in along the street, let us know. They'll be there through the mingle. And then at the mingle this Friday, the students will be encouraged to come find their signs and find their place on Main Street. We'll move them all to the school. They'll be up for a week and they can take them home. But in that buy-in between the school and our programs, we've really been discussing, some way to have like a scholarship program or something else where we can also add value back to the students. So when we put the registration out, we allowed students to submit their photo. I think there's 101 graduating seniors. And I would have to look at my computer, but I think we got like 56 or 60 photos back. So about half of the signs will have the kids' photos on them, and they will look like this. Sorry, it's a small paper you can pass around. All those photos obviously will be individual, and then their names will be on them. If they didn't submit a photo, they're still gonna get one, and it'll just look like this with their name and the Eagles logos on them. We were able to sell sponsorships for the signs. And we sold all 101 signs thanks to our lovely businesses like Hooter Legal Advisors and the Town of Wellington and Tabby Road and the T-Bar, and I can't think of all of them, but we sold all 101 signs. When the students registered, there was an opportunity for the parents to do a $20 donation. The signs were $20 a piece. So we raised a total of $2,340, and we did all of this in less than a month. The signs will cost us $1,170 flat rate to be printed. So we made exactly double that. So we now have an additional $1,170 to launch our scholarship fund for next year. Because now the goal is that the program is just self-sustaining year over year, and this happens every single year, and it's something that our students look forward to, knowing that they're gonna have that. Now that we have kind of the model created, we will launch this in October of next year instead of April. So they can submit to the program and get their senior photos for the yearbook, so hopefully every student will get a photo instead of trying to like round them up at the end. And then same thing, we'll have the sponsorship portion, the parent donations if they would like, but next year we'll be able to give out one $1,000 scholarship. Next year, we haven't fleshed this out. This is what I'm thinking. You actually haven't heard this yet. I've been thinking about it literally all day because I've been so excited about this. It will be open to students that graduated this year and students graduating next year, since the students graduating this year don't have an opportunity this year. And then moving forward, it'll be open to all graduating seniors. Hopefully that scholarship fund, just if we double our money every year, think about how fast that'll grow and we can give out more and more scholarships. And it'll be, like community service based, whatever. We'll have a committee that has a selection criteria. Don't ask me any questions about that because I don't know what it's gonna look like, but I'm just really excited about it. So the signs are done. They'll be printed tomorrow. Every single student has ones. The community was really excited for that sponsorship opportunity. I know that our businesses get asked for money all of the time and everyone is struggling right now. So we're really happy to be able to present that at a $20 sponsorship opportunity. So you could sponsor just one sign if you wanted, which makes it really affordable and open to any of the businesses. So they're done and I think that they're awesome. Kelly DeVries from Thistle did the graphic design for us. She did a super great job. They look beautiful and everybody gets yard sign. I'm super excited. So if you have any questions? I'm so glad.
Super cool program. Love it. Love it. Any questions from anybody on this?
I'm excited that 101 families will come upon downtown to shop and eat and celebrate.
That's what we're hoping for.
Together. So fantastic idea, not just lovely from a sense of pride and first major graduating class. So thank you guys for taking advantage of that. But what a great opportunity to get people downtown now and loving where they live. So I just think that's amazing. Well done.
Any other questions? Comments?
I can see like restaurants, senior special. Whatever
Yeah.
that is, senior special.
Senior
What
citizens.
Maybe Mark too. Enough. Don't take advantage of these kids.
One question, are these just from Wellington High School?
Or are we
recognizing career hires?
Unfortunately not.
Okay.
I think in the future, maybe there's a way to tie that in. If the Wellington kids who graduate from other schools want to do that.
The number will go down.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously this year, there'll probably be quite a
for
few
this year, it was
Wellington
just, we
kids.
got, Hillary Bartling and Mark Buffington,
Mhm.
the athletic director and the, assistant principal were super great with helping facilitate this and push it out to the students and their parents and email it to them and put it in the announcements and student council and all of that. So, no, this year it is just for the school of Wellington, but I think in the future,
That
that's
makes
something we
sense.
could definitely look at.
Awesome, good deal. Yeah, this is very exciting. I think those, the kids are gonna be very happy to see that going down Main Street. So very cool stuff, very cool stuff. All right, we will move right along. We've got a Cleveland Avenue construction project update. Director Gowan.
I'm gonna turn this whiteboard around. This kind of lives here now.
The magic board.
It's just a graphic showing the current design. And I see a few new things up here. Neon has seen this before. It's a pretty awkward angle for the folks who don't. But generally speaking, this is the Cleveland Avenue Improvements Project. It runs all the way from 5th to 1st. And this drawing's a little awkward because this is 5th Street going down to where it turns at Kennedy. So north is that way on this one, and north is straight up on this one. You put this and kind of spun it around, you'd see that storm drain pipe comes in right over there. So if anybody wants to come up and look at that and talk about it afterwards, that'd be awesome. So real quick history lesson. In 2023, we applied for and were awarded a series of grants. Revitalizing Main Street Grant, RMS, Multimodal Opportunity Fund, MMOF, HSIP, Highway Safety Improvement Program, and they also kicked in some Region 4 money, about $1 million from that. The paving project originally included Cleveland, so they said, okay, you can have the rest of that for this, and that all got codified in IGA in December of 23. We searched for, and ended up hiring JUB Engineers as our primary consultant. There's a big team there: King Surveying, Ayers is doing Sioux work, Icon Engineering, Keller Engineering, Earth Engineering, a lot of engineering, and Centennial Archaeology, which I thought was pretty cool. Got to talk to some archaeologists on this one. To date, we've finished most of the design phase work. We finished the traffic analysis, geotechnical investigation, Sioux, which is a subsurface utility engineering, is basically an advanced utility locates program. What's called the FIR set. It's a 30% set of plans that go to CDOT for review. That's for internal reviews, whatever IR stands for. If you want to learn more about CDOT acronyms. We've moved on. We got CDOT's comments back. We got a pretty extensive review internally, and gave that consulting team. They came back with a 60%. And when I say 60%, that just means it's roughly 60% complete at that point. The right-of-way plans are also finished. The environmental clearances have all been obtained. That was one of the reasons we had an archaeologist on the team. And right now we're working on kind of finalizing the landscape and amenities portion of the plan, and hope to have some type of town hall or outreach on that in June, I believe. July. Okay. We'll say August. They're ahead of schedule.
I like that. I like that strategy.
Manage expectations. Working on the 90% FOR for office review submittal, and hope to have that coming up in October-ish. Then we need to work on what's called the PS&E, plan, specs, and estimates. That's another step we have to go through. And assuming that our right-of-way acquisition lines up to the approval of the PS&E, which is basically just final bid documents, we'll be able to advertise an award towards the end of the year. So this schedule is a little bit conservative. The big wild card is frankly the right-of-way acquisition. We need right-of-way from 5 different properties. You cannot begin that until you've completed everything that I just listed out. So we're right now able to kind of start talking officially to folks about the right-of-way acquisition that the town needs to support the project. Once we do, and that has to be done before we advertise and bid the project. Makes sense. So that's the date that's still a little bit contingent on a CDOT process and how quickly they respond to us with comments, but also just the right-of-way acquisition process itself. We think will go well, but you never know. And then we hope to start construction at the very end of this year, maybe early next year, and we're required to complete construction by the end of 2026. So our IGA references ARPA money. That deadline comes with all ARPA money. Has to all be spent, not obligated, but spent by December of 2026. And we have the first quarter of 27 to kind of get all the reporting done. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We've been working with the C3 group, which has been fantastically helpful, and reaching out to C3, what is it for? Construction.
Cleveland Avenue Construction Committee.
Okay, so it's A.
Yeah.
Well,
All the other acronyms.
That's when it's done. The only Wellington here. So that's kind of the schedule where we're at right now. We have some upcoming outreach, especially regarding the landscaping plan, which really encompasses the trees, planting beds, the lights, including lighting, some locations for future gateways that are referenced in the comprehensive plan, making room for those. Really everything that sits on top of the civil engineering work, but what most people are actually interested in talking about. So it's a complicated project from a grading point of view. Because Cleveland is almost dead flat right now, we have to kind of create low points in the curb and gutter to collect drainage. So the drainage system, which there is no drainage system at all, Cleveland right now, except for standing water.
There's swimming pools.
There are swimming pools, they're kind of small, like wading pools.
Shallow.
So that new storm drain system runs basically all the way from First down to Fifth and all the way down to and discharges through a piece of property we conveniently own right there where it occurred. Kennedy takes it over. So that's going to go in terms of phasing. We get a lot of questions about phasing. One phasing has a big impact on businesses and people coming to visit those businesses. We need to get that storm drain in first, so that's going to look like digging a big old trench in Fifth, all the way from the bottom there up to Cleveland, and then all the way over to First, leaving the stubs out for where the inlets are going to go. There's a lot of utilities that are in conflict for that alignment, so some of those we don't, frankly, it's impossible to kind of figure out exactly what that distance. If a water service is an inch below our new pipe, then that's great. If we're off by an inch and a half, then that's not so great. Now we got to move that. So that'll be happening as well. And then we'll kind of button that up and following that with the curb and gutter, sidewalk, all the surface features. And at the end, those amenities and landscaping. For phasing, we believe, CDOT hasn't told us this in writing, but we believe that they're going to require 2 two lanes of traffic almost continuously through the project. So right now, our plan in terms of kind of minimizing impact to adjacent property owners is to try and build the sidewalks first. And there's two ways to do it. You can keep the existing sidewalks and build the middle part first. But our current sidewalks are not so great and they're not really all ADA accessible. So we just as soon do that first. And that's about 6.5 feet from the storefronts. Get those in and kind of create a construction fence and then start all the heavy duty work with the rest of the hardscape, curb and gutter, so our hope is that we'll be able to maintain, if we do say a block or two at a time, get in there and put some high urban concrete in there and get those sidewalks set up and curled around to the side street sidewalks so that people parking off street can still have an accessible ADA path to all the various storefronts. Right now, we're intending to keep a semi-permanent crossing at 2 of them. We've got 6. We have to get in there, but that's going to be quick what we do in there. And First is pretty much getting totally done, that intersection. So we're thinking First and Third in terms of more frequently open north-south routes to get through the construction. The more we leave open, the more it drives up cost. And speaking of cost, our initial estimate came in over 8 million, and you'll recall I said we had 4.5 million in grant money. That's a pretty big gap for our street fund to absorb. So we spent a lot of time during 30 and 60% trimming up scope a little bit. But we think we're down to about 6.5 million now, and time will tell. Just in this current atmosphere of construction, nobody knows what the right costs are right now for construction. We are subject to BABA. When we built the 2 plants, we had the precursor to Building America back again, or what that stands for. It kind of superseded the American Iron and Steel Act. It's a lot more extensive, so this is one of the first projects that we have to deal with BABA on. So that may or may not slow things down, because frankly, they don't make everything in America anymore. And things like pumps, I know it's still some water plants, but most things made out of metal are not made in America. So anyway, that's all part of the construction. And one thing that we haven't really talked about much, so this is entitled the Cleveland Avenue Improvement Project, but we have a sister project called the I can't remember, Sidewalk Improvement Program or something like that. So it's separate item in the CIP budget, and basically that is geared towards taking the Safe Routes product that was created in the past and turning all those routes into fully accessible and safer pedestrian routes. So those projects are scattered all over town, and kind of some primary corridors, 3rd Street, attention, some of the streets in Old Town, Washington, and heading out. Obviously, the area where they're so we don't really talk about that yet. That one's still kind of under development, but we talked a little bit with Safe Routes, and they're pretty quick to show them the final product and make sure that they're happy with the routes that we're providing. So all those funding, those pots of funding, all have to go to certain things. And so when we submitted for this HSIP money, that's the HSIP money that I'm talking about right now, was intended to go to primarily fund a robust Safe Routes program, construction of a Safe Routes program. So that's where we're at. May or may not be a lot of questions, but fire away if you'd like.
Awesome. Appreciate the update on that, Director Gowing. Really the biggest question I had, you answered for me, which was kind of the cost situation. So obviously we'll be we'll kind of keep an eye on that as far as that goes along. Only other. Thought I had one other question, but we'll come back to that. Any questions from, anybody else as far as that goes?
There's been discussions about this before, but it's worth mentioning again. Regarding main streets and their flower planters, the concept of water built in self-watering options is something that's been discussed a lot, but it would be great for you guys to come to the town hall, those kind of things to say, hey, it would be great if we don't have to bring water to Main Street if that's all built in, so that might solve some problems. But I brought it up to Bob before, it's been brought up many times, but that's something that Main Street talks about a lot is
installing a whole brand new irrigation system, a modern irrigation system. It's over 1,000 times better than what we have now. We're also installing our own electric system, and we'll be kind of taking over the street lights within this blocks. Those won't be XL street lights anymore. They'll be our street lights, so we can do whatever we want to with them in the future, and be plenty of options for power.
Can you change the colors?
I stopped.
I
didn't say anything, but that was probably a mistake.
Eating your lunch, whatever.
Yeah, we'll call that Steve moment. Yeah, so everything's fine. It's obviously gonna be.
I did have one other question for you. As far as, you were talking about surface amenities and that sort of thing, what's your intention behind that? Are you planning on doing a town hall or something like that, or?
Yeah, we'd like to get a wide range of feedback on that. So generally speaking, the layout kind of is what it is. Any trees in there as we can, but decided what kind of trees. We've got a landscape architect on the team, looking at that. But our hope is that we'll have kind of three options. There's three options for benches. There's three options for light poles. And the natural kind of impulse for a lot of people is that, well, I saw this light in Tinwood and we want to do that. But we've got to be conscious of the budget, and we've got to get the right amount of coverage, the right amount of lumens on the right spots. And so we'd like to kind of bring the community to kind of maybe pick them. Not to say that we can't stray from that if we need to, but that's what we'll do.
Excellent.
And cherry trees are out, by the way.
Just really banana trees.
What about a perilous pear? Perilous pears are beautiful. They bloom and they don't produce fruit.
And they stink badly.
I know, I don't know if that's true.
So I think
I think this is down the road.
Anyways, we're continuing to discuss, so.
This is one of the harshest environments imaginable for any piece of vegetation. You've got salts from the snow control, people moving around them, compaction issues. So you need a hardy tree, hardy in sense of temperature, but a strong tree that can survive that. And the landscape architects just told us that cherry trees are probably not going to survive.
Oh, I know.
And fruit trees in general, they're picky about where
Mine doesn't produce fruit though, so I think that makes it special. I don't know. Look at it, it looks amazing.
I have one comment about the safe routes bit this summer. If any of you have seen the logos like around Centennial Park, we're planning to fill out the rest of that map and connect all the neighborhoods to each school this summer. So while I have everyone in this room who is so inclined to do good, if you're interested in participating in that, just let me know.
What month are you doing it?
Well, not August.
Got it.
And not the end of July, because it rained about every single day we tried last year, so probably somewhere in like late June is my guess. But we don't have a date set, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Awesome. Any final comments, questions as far as the Cleveland project?
Thanks, Bob.
I have a question on the benches. Is that a definitive thing? Has that been decided on the bump outs? Is that still being up in the air? Is that definitely happening?
We're going, so when we got the first version of the plan, but I did have inches of it. And so we probably want to leave a little bit more room for kind of businesses to program their own space in a way. So we took a few of those out, but in general, would be more benches than we have now, or at least that's what we're showing right now. More trash cans.
But these are on the bump outs.
Well, not,
No.
they're on the edge of the bump out, so
Those are small.
the curb extension, so. If you remove, it's pretty hard for folks to see, but. I'm just on the third, so there's what's called the curb extension and the bump out. Right now, we're showing kind of benches over here, on the side, not like out in the middle, because. This is also, I mean, this is a gathering place and still a place for pedestrians, so every place, you know, you see a ramp, that connection has to be clear. Okay, so in general, we're looking at trying to leave space that could be programmed a little bit more organically in the future. And the businesses, gonna learn how to say about some of that.
So you're not walking 25 feet out towards the middle of the street and having a picnic right in the middle of your house, like traffic is coming.
We're good advice.
That's the way it's getting explained, I'm like, this can't be right.
I think it was in a picture initially, and that's why it got questioned,
Probably.
is they had like a picnic bench, a round table bench right in that bump out.
It would help if I attended a meeting. And I have that's why I'm asking. Okay.
Yeah, that picture does not speak 1,000 words, but yeah, in general, these curb extensions are mostly about pedestrians, really, but just a little bit of additional space. So I think most of the amenity zone itself is going to be clean.
It's the only question I have. I was just gonna propose planters or something else that made more sense and might be more cost efficient, but it seems like that's the word.
Any other comments? Okay,
While you're out in the community, if you get any questions, send them to the town so that we can answer them and so we can get good information out.
Kelly and Jerry have some great stuff on the website, but if there's something that's, detailed kind of question on the field goals.
And there's a Facebook group for it and also text alerts that you can do specific to the project.
You can check out the website that's on there. So just go into wellingtoncolorado.gov, type in Cleveland Avenue Construction. That will take you to that page. We're also trying to do a newsletter updates. This is the tricky phase that we're in right now, that when you're still in design, it's hard to say when it's happening. So the updates right now have been limited, but certainly when construction is happening, there might be like weekly updates, every twice a week updates. It will really just depend. So there's not a ton there now, but that's a great resource to send people. And through the C3 committee meetings, we've been working through a lot of marketing ideas and talking about parking and how to inform people of where to park during construction. So that group of volunteers have been working really hard, thinking through a lot of these things. So, and I will say that this has been a great model to test as a case study for bringing this to the broader community when other things come up. We've been working on like a business resource toolkit that a lot of this information will be great for all businesses. So this is a very specific example, and it is focused on downtown where the construction impact is, but I do see this morphing into something greater and that shared collaboration that we're kind of learning a lot from and learning a lot from each other through that, so.
awesome, good deal. Director Gowan, appreciate the update on this. Okay, really just kind of one wrap up topic here. We've got a review and update of the memorandums of understanding between entities. Patty, did you have something on that?
Yeah, so we do, there's these MOUs out there. Memorandums of Understanding between us and the chamber, us and Main Street. I think there might be one chamber in Main Street, is that correct? So just looking for direction from this group for us to work on those things, to bring them up to speed, up to date. and see what that looks like. We can bring some drafts to you all when we schedule that next meeting. Just a week, if they're out of date. So they just need to be updated. I think the foundation is right, but we need to get some work done on them. So I just wanted to make sure that we would be using people to do that. So Caitlin and Carolyn, myself, and Dan, of course. And he costs more, but so we'll try to get as much done before it gets to him.
A bunch of stuff in there is not applicable whatsoever, like
Yeah.
how we share copier
Yeah, I
machine,
know.
like those kind of things.
There's stuff in there. It's very definitive. It's a little too tight. We need to make it broader.
Yeah, so big thumbs up for me. This thing is an option.
Gotcha.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Really quick, we'll just kind of open it up for everybody. If there's any other topics we want to discuss while we're here now would be the time to bring those up if anybody has some.
I do have one thing. So in looking at the impact that the Cleveland Avenue corridor is actually going to be going through in the next year, hopefully just one single year. I know I had sent an email to Patty and I had also had conversations with some of the businesses I was able to meet at the Spring into Wellington event this weekend. And one of the biggest things that I would like to know is, and I'm interested in, is since this will be the last year Cleveland is Cleveland as we know it before construction, I would really truly love to get a feel of what the businesses think of bringing the 4th of July in its entirety back down into Cleveland for the day. To where everything is in one centralized location. There isn't people leaving after 11 or 12 o'clock in the afternoon, kind of what that would look like to have that heavy traffic and how it might benefit, if it would even benefit, having that heavy traffic down in that area until the road opens back up in the afternoon and everyone goes to the fireworks show. So that's kind of one of my things, since a lot of the businesses impacted or some are represented here. I'd just like to know if there is any kind of feedback or if it's even a benefit to even have a discussion about.
I mean, is that even possible? Because isn't the reason we didn't do that, like, we had to make that change with fire code issue or fire, like a safety issue basically for them? That's just, I'm asking.
I definitely think that the perspective, is a little bit different with the current leaders of fire in LCSO. These two are a lot more amenable to that idea. Ultimately, what it comes down to is that if we have the entire event downtown, it has to be smaller. Not people wise, like, we would love for it to be 20,000 people, right? But the amount of, because there's only so much space, the amount of vendors or the amount of events that you do, whatnot, it just has to be smaller. I think, from my understanding, if I'm speaking out of turn, but for this year, the goal is to keep the majority of it downtown. Kind of split the structure and have like the park and play and the splash pad and make the north part Buffalo Creek or whatever it is. What is that park called? It's not Buffalo Creek Park, Wellington Community Park. Make that just more of like a play park where people can go. There will be some food trucks up there. I think that's a big feedback that we get from a lot of our downtown restaurants. Is that filling downtown with food trucks is not helpful to us. So just kind of like, I don't know that it's totally possible to ever put everything in one place in general, because you can't create more space, right? And we only have the one park and all the houses, but I think it's doable that we can have the majority of it downtown based on our current interactions with LCSO and fire. But it has a lot to do with that conversation from earlier of retraining people. Like, we tried really hard to keep people, in the street in downtown for St. Patty's Day. It didn't help that it wasn't nice, but we had trained those people that the moment a parade is over, you have to get out of there because we're reopening the road. So it's just kind of retraining them that like, you can stay around and this is what we're gonna do. And Yes and no, I guess. I don't know if that was an answer.
Yeah, we're coming up, every day we're thinking of new ideas about ways to keep people in town. Like I think Caitlin had mentioned that maybe we'll have people on the floats carrying signs saying, stay downtown after the parade, or, different things like that. 'Cause we're gonna try to keep the road closed a little bit longer in case anybody wants to do some activities. We're also putting together, some marketing ideas to pass out to the businesses. It's up to the businesses to, of course, enact on them, but, giving them the opportunity. And knowing, so I came here in December of 2000. 2001, I don't remember much at all of. I was drinking through a fire hose. And then the next year, there was a beer garden in Wellington Community Park. And then for 2 years, we've had the beer garden down at Centennial Park. So it hasn't been like a legacy type thing. So I'm hoping that, like, as you mentioned, to train people, hopefully they haven't been trained too much that they, that they just leave. We're really gonna try to keep them downtown and really support our businesses and hopefully the goal is to get people that are coming to visit, knowledgeable about what we have to offer in the downtown area, to let them know that there's businesses, there's restaurants, there's a coffee shop, there's Thistle, there's all these different, Rose and Co, there's lots of different opportunities for those businesses to be successful, and that's the goal.
So are you still planning on shutting down as far as traffic control goes, Wellington Community Park then? Because that's thousands of dollars.
No,
Okay, so there will be no shutdown traffic, no nothing, it'll just be for yourself. So what kid events do you plan on having for the 4th of July in downtown?
so there'll be just some family-friendly events at the park, and then inflatables and things will be up at Wellington Community Park.
There's a park and play.
Park and play. Park and play, we'll have the food trucks up there, and then we'll have the, music.
And Main Street Market will be.
Downtown, Main Street
Downtown.
Market, and
Downtown.
music,
Yeah, and car show.
and vendors and car show will be downtown.
And then inflatables, park and play, community park.
Yes.
Potentially other sport friendly related things,
Mhm.
if somebody can make it happen.
Yeah, we're still working on some things.
Yeah, I obviously this year is a little unique because we want to try to keep folks downtown so we can prop up those businesses for the construction project, right? But, I think to a lot of points that have been made here, obviously going forward, we have very much outgrown Centennial Park, right? I mean, we can't just stuff everything into Centennial Park, right? And the fact that the Legion's not having the beer garden down there this year kind of opens us up to be able to have the inflatables and that sort of thing downtown. But, obviously, well,
No kid stuff.
the point I'm trying to make is obviously going forward, we're gonna have to utilize both parks. I mean, we don't have the space down here, so.
And
it is what it is.
we can't split. I mean, I've talked to the team about having some inflatables downtown and then some up at Wellington Community Park. And we just don't have the staffing or the generators and things like that needed in order to make that happen. We can't have it split. It needs to be in one location. We don't have the space down in Wellington Community and at Centennial Park for all the inflatables.
And it's
So,
not that what is gonna happen in Centennial Park is not gonna be like kid or family friendly. I mean, the playground still exists. It's the vendor market. There will be family friendly live music. The entire event will have activities for people of all ages, no matter where you are. So
Wait, so are you doing music in Centennial Park or are you doing it over in Wellington Community Park?
Centennial.
So live music downtown, and we have a great PA system through the Parks and Rec department, so we'll still play music and it'll be lively and fun, but the live music piece will be downtown.
sorry, I misspoke earlier. I get the two parks and stuff everywhere.
These are just called Buffalo Creek and downtown.
I know,
I
that would be
never
so much
remember their
different.
names.
And Main Street also sponsors a shuttle that's been really popular the past couple of years to help kind of drive that traffic up north and back to downtown. So we plan on doing that again and just keeping that rolling as the events are going on.
That's so appreciated, by the way.
Yeah, those will roll
My
all day.
kids love that. Yeah.
Super helpful. Especially get up, see what's going on.
Awesome. Any other topics anybody wants to discuss?
I love that everybody's coming together for these. I think it's the best. This is what we should be doing. I'm so glad everybody showed up. So thank you.
And, you know, we had quite a to-do list after the last one. Is there any other items you would like for this group to prepare for your next meeting? Or you can talk to your board liaison, board of trustees can talk to me, and maybe we can, you know, if there's items you all want to have us work on, or topics you think are important for this group to have more information on, in order to help you all work better together. So maybe just work with Caitlin and Carol and myself. Dave, did you have an idea?
So I think you guys are doing great. I love seeing what you're doing, the communication. I think it's gonna be great for economic development too, down the road too.
Absolutely.
So, you know, seeing that we work as one has to be a positive thing for bringing businesses in.
Absolutely.
So appreciate what you guys are doing.
Thank you to all of our volunteers. Thank
Absolutely.
you so much.
Cool. Well, that's all the items we've got on the agenda this evening. So I just want to thank all of our Main Streets board members as well as community Chamber of Commerce folks for coming down this evening. But with that, we'll go ahead and adjourn the work session. So thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.